What's it like to work with Ryan? My husband is a business partner. Gosh, I had this huge fear that building a business together as a couple would be the worst thing you can do for your relationship. And partly because I think that my parents built a business together, and that's really what I saw them do is hustle so hard and build a business to try to survive. And then they, really fought for this business after business. There were such entrepreneurs. But what I saw was that their marriage suffered. And so much of the conflict that I saw growing up was based on a lot of business things. And so to me, there was not even an option that I would ever get into business with a man I love because I just thought that was your ticket to divorce. Now, I will say that my own limiting belief really, I would, uh, has really kind of been what's causing that fear. And I had to really fight that limiting belief because one of the best parts of my life right now that I think makes it so nourishing is that Ryan and I are actually building a business together. And not only is our business causing us to grow together, I think it's causing us to actually um, be more inspired with each other. And it has honestly made our relationship so rich because now every part of our life was so deeply connected in a sense that our children, but now it's our business and it's our life. So my fears, which obviously came from a very legitimate experience with my family, and if I did not wrestle with that limiting belief, I probably would not taste the joy of what it's like to build a business with Ryan. So I'm just grateful, I think, that somebody taught me or somebody challenged me to rewire limiting beliefs about so many things about working with your husband. That if I didn't wrestle with it, if I didn't say, I'm open to changing my belief, I'm open to switching and seeing what other possibilities are, I would be not here building a business as a mom of eight and a thriving marriage. I really wouldn't. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't get into business, and because I would be so dead. I would say dead set in the fact that it could never mix together a happy, thriving marriage and business owners together. And I just want to invite all of you out there who are maybe thinking about, building a business with your husband, and maybe there's a fear there, and I'm sure most of them are legitimate fears. I would, invite you to just really take a hard look and say, okay, where are these fears coming from? Are they legitimate? And can I replace some of these limiting beliefs? Now, I will say that building a business together requires so much humility, openness, and um, coachability because you make mistakes and you have to talk to each other on a daily basis. You have to want to almost be with each other because there's just a lot of things in building a business together that if you know didn't replace some of these, I would say, mindset regarding your husband, it would be a challenge. So for example, if I looked at Ryan and I couldn't stand him, it would be hard to build a business. Or if I looked at Ryan and I couldn't trust him because he would say one thing and wouldn't follow through with it, that would make business challenging. And so what I realized with business is that the accountability was not just towards each other, but towards the company. And so if he didn't honor his word, sure, he would, upset me, but really it would not be good for the company. So it was sort of like an indirect accountability that we had to do our best, that we had to be truthful and honest, and that we had to scale up our life in order to scale up our business. So in some ways, if there are two willing hearts that are willing to be humble enough to change, to grow, I think it's a great opportunity to, I think, grow even stronger together. And I don't think that we are, I really honestly don't think that we are taught how to communicate to our husbands, boyfriends. So many of us are going into relationships with, I would say, skill deprived, because communication skills, boundaries, setting expectation, holding each other accountable, growing, these are just skills that are not taught and trained prior to even getting married. We're all trying to figure it out as we go, including me and Ryan. Um, but God, if you know, if God gave us these desires in our heart to build a business, I think that we ought to pay attention to it. And if they are to, somehow there's an intersection in your marriage where you can work together, you should really ask yourself and say, okay, how is this going to change me? And am I willing to change? And it's not that the answer has to be that you should build a business together. It means that whatever limiting beliefs that there might be holding you back is worthy of observation and questioning, and just kind of taking a look to see, okay, well, what if I change some of the things, my limiting beliefs? What would it be like? Um, and so, pivoting back to me and Ryan, I feel like our marriage is better than it ever has been. And I always feel great. I've always felt grateful that Ryan, I think, and I have had a pretty beautiful, and our marriage has been relatively really just peaceful and easy. Were there hard moments? Yes, absolutely. But really it's I think I would credit that to so much of training prior to getting married for both Ryan and I, because he was really steeped into a lot of the personal development world. And so there's so much discipline that he had already acquired prior to our marriage, which I think made our marriage a seamless transition. Now, sadly, these trainings are not available for everyone, which is why we have the women's school, simply because I think there's a lot of great suffering that happens when we are untrained. So I will also say that even though we had these skills together, we really had to skill up together in order to work together. There, I think, a never ending list of skill mastery and growth that needs to happen if we are going to grow our business, and if we're not only going to grow a business, but also grow our family together. So it's very real for us. So where we are right now, just to give you a window of what this life really looks like, is that, we wake up in the morning together at the same time. He wakes me up in the morning. And most of the time, we really try to get up between 4:30 and 5. Although our doctors, Ryan's naturopath doctor, said, I can tell you need more sleep. So it's just recalibrating per season. And we have a 1 and a 2-year-old. So life is quite busy, although I can't use them as an excuse, because my children, I train my children to go to bed 12 weeks, 12 hours to 12 weeks. And it's just part of the training that I do. There's no crying out. I know people always ask me that question. So anyways, that's digressing. But my point in saying that is, we really try to get up in the morning together to build a routine of prayer, of study, of meditation together, because I think that has been the heart of our relationship, is creating, I wouldn't say the heart, that was probably another word. I'd say the main discipline that has created harmony in our home is just that rhythm of life, and constantly managing a rhythm of life, constantly improving it, constantly recalibrating it. And because there's every season it changes. And so that's something that we've done really almost all our married life, is getting up early together. And I do it even when I'm pregnant. Obviously, counting my hours of sleep, but really it's just one of those things that we've just learned together that I think has made our marriage quite sweet, because we start our day together. He wakes me up, he makes me my favorite cappuccino. I just, it's a gift. I didn't discover cappuccino until I had my sixth child, and I just thought I was so deprived of this great cappuccino. And Ryan cannot cook for the life of him. He doesn't know anything in the kitchen, except he can make a pretty, um, just amazing cappuccino. We call it the Dono Bucks. And that's about it. But it's so good. I look forward to it every morning. Anyways, he gets me my coffee, and we know we hold each other accountable to prayer and study in the morning. And then 7 o'clock is usually when all our children get up. Some days my little 2-year-old gets up and comes down with us, and that's just the way it is. And sometimes my 6-year-old gets up, and Ryan gives her a book or kind of an iPad to scribble and write, and she's drawing around next to her while she's studying. So all these are all part of that journey, but it's beautiful. It's the dance. But our children know that we get up in the morning, and then 7 o'clock we sort of have to pivot. I come out of my office, and it's the routine between 7 to 9 o'clock, all hands on deck with the children. It's when we get them out the door. It's we help them with breakfast. It's we love in them. We make sure they brush their teeth. We do mindset training at certain seasons, depending. We do our prayers. I'm managing the room in that morning. I'm like, my 14-year-old is I'm asking, he's on brush patrol. So he brushes my 7-year-old and 6-year-old's hair. And that's intentional. I'm trying to find ways for them to care for each other. My 10-year-old or 11-year-old would help with breakfast. Everybody kind of has their own routine of the season or their contribution in the season. And it's not without a fight. It's not without complaining, but it is a well-oiled machine in the sense that our children know what to expect. There's a rhythm of life. I put on music. I put on great lighting. I make that part of sort of my goal is to just love on each one of them, even if it's a few seconds at the door because school starts at 8 o'clock. So we've got sort of our routine together. There's always a baby patrol, zig patrol, rock patrol, and it's a dance party. And I love it. I love it so much. And I kind of work is paused, and it's all the children. Right now it's summertime, so this, the schedule is a bit more recalibrated, but it's kind of the same thing. And so Ryan goes for exercise with the boys during school, and I kind of try to do exercise on my own. So it's always trying to figure out, okay, when do we fit an exercise? When do we, how can we work together? And then we have help at home, but we've also had seasons where we don't have help, and so making sure that when the kids are out the door, the kitchen is already clean and ready to go. So I have learn these skills to make things efficient and effective quite quickly, to make sure the house is clean quite fast and efficient. I manage my children, delegate a lot. So Ryan does that, and then 9 o'clock Ryan works, and some days I work early and some days I work a little bit later. So it's figuring out the different season, but I usually spend time with the little people until I put them to bed, and then I get to work. That's our routine. And then Ryan and I meet at some point during the day. And then on Tuesdays, we meet once a week where we talk about our faith family and our business fortune, whatever you call it. So that's just a mnemonic we use, but we meet every Tuesday and the children know, and we call it sibling day. And so they have sibling, they can watch movies, they can play games, but they put my older children put my younger kids to bed, and they know mom and dad need to meet. And we kind of write a list of everything we need to talk about. We go through our checklist to make sure we're moving the needle forward in every arena of our life. And also throughout the day, we have to discuss business. So it's that's sort of the window and the peak to our rhythm of life and routine. And on Fridays, we have date nights, and it's sacred. My children know that it's very rare that we don't go on date night, and something that we've done since my 1-year-old was my firstborn was, my my oldest was born. And I think it's very important to make time. I hear a lot of couples who, I've got to do that, January. I got to make time for that. And I think we just need to do it. We just need to commit and say, we're just going to do it, even if it's going for a walk. And, there have been many different seasons in our life where money was tight, so we didn't, or we just went for a walk, or that we put a candle in the basement. And that's okay. The idea is that you make time for each other, and that there's a time that's sacred, that's just dedicated, I think, to just being with each other. And sometimes you have to make it rules with Ryan and I where we don't talk about certain things, whether it's business or something. Sometimes it's inevitable just because it's so intertwined in our life. And honestly, because we love to do business together. It's funny, my assistant, she gets a window to me and Ryan's conversation. And I'd say that Ryan is quite flirty with me, outside of business or in between, but it's not like everybody sees that. I think that my children always says, "Oh, mom, stop," and dad, "Stop touching mom's bum bum." And I know that's TMI, but just to give you a real window that, Ryan has really made an effort to continue to pursue me. I'm sometimes gets to be a really tough cookie, but he's just a great man. And I think he has so much humility to always strive to be better. And I'm just so grateful for that, even though um, I don't always do a great job communicating it. But my point in saying that is that my assistant was saying that, you guys really know how to, um, what is it called? Have difficult conversation. And I just thought that was funny because in business, you have to have a difficult conversation. And she gets to sit through that because sometimes when we meet, she takes notes. And I was just laughing because she doesn't get to see every part of our marriage. But she's like, I really admire the way you have hard conversation. I thought, wow, I've never had somebody say that to me. But I think that that's even part of the skill that we've had to learn is how to have those challenging conversation, because you have to have them in business and you have to hold each other accountable, and you're constantly trying to re-strategize, and you have to do that without compromising the tenderness in which you communicate with each other as a couple. And so I think the main thing that Ryan and I invest is our own personal growth. I feel like we're always reading a book, we're always training in a particular skills, we're always acquiring some new skill set that I feel like when we come together, we are more skilled than we were the day before. That's just part of the habit that we've grown. I think that's changed our marriage. The second thing is that we really dream together. We give ourselves permission to dream and hold each other accountable, even when it's the hardest to dream. So Ryan has, come with me to these homes that I would visit when I had, one or two or three kids. And I would go to these homes that I could never afford, but I was like, let's just go there, just, the model homes. And eventually we would be able to afford it. So we just dreamt, and we call it touching the dream. I think that's really has been fruit of our marriage is our dreams is always a matter of time. And I remember we had that on our vision boards, only a matter of time. So that's something we would do when we make time to do together. So it's investing time together, it's skill training together, and it's dreaming together. And I would say that the sugar plum, what's the fourth one? The fourth one that I feel like is I think it's been such an important factor in our marriage has been uh, that we design our life very intentionally, meaning that we take every part of our life, whether it's our mental health, emotional, physical, spiritual, our self-image, our friendship, and we really take the time to design it. How do we want that? And we're constantly talking about it. It's not a one and done. It's like, okay, how can we recalibrate our nutrition? How can we recalibrate our routine? How can we create these quality friendships? How can we make sure that we can improve our time together? How can we redesign our home so that it creates the harmony and joy and the peace that we want? How can we strategize with each children? How can we, how much money do we want to make? How do we want to build our wealth for contribution? And so this is an ongoing conversation, and that designing our life together is just a crucial thing that we have always done. And I find that life by design has been a hallmark of our marriage, which I think keeps it novel, keeps things exciting, and keeps us really scaling up. Because to design that beautiful, meaningful life together, it really requires us to be so disciplined, so coachable, and have enough humility to own up our mistakes. And it's not always fun, but I think it's made our marriage um, rich. It's made us our marriage. I feel like it's never the same every day and every year. It's always better. And I think the last thing I would say is this deep level of respect for each other. No matter how challenging, you know, our conversations are or our time together, you don't ever cross the line of disrespect. You never just berate them. You never just call them, names you never wish you'd call them. Like there's just sort of this deep respect. You never insult them to a point of no return. I mean, sure, you can say not so nice things at times, but there's almost sort of this underlying expectation that you'd never go there. You'd never make fun of them. You'd never criticize them that would hurt them to the core. So I think those five things are really key in building a business together and looking at it from such integrated eyes so that we're not just, building a multi-million-dollar business and lose, this our marriage, our family life, our home life, our health, our mental health, be stressed. I mean, that's one thing. It's like there's no stress. It's not, we do not allow even that language of overwhelm and stress in our home, in our marriage. It's, we don't use that word, and we replace it, even though there's a lot going on, we just replace it with words that we know have more hope. So that's something that we just hold each other accountable. And not, I don't think everybody's called to build their business together. I think I'm just sharing with you how what Ryan and I do that would help and serve you, and see if this is something where you feel like, okay, is there even a place for me to build my business together? And Ryan and I didn't start building our business together. We started out dreaming about building our business. I'm sorry, we started dreaming about just working together. Um, Ryan was in real estate, and had a quite successful real estate practice. And I was always sort of his confidant and helping him kind of get advice, and whatever he was learning, I would listen to it. I remember listening to his sales book, Sell or Be Sold, from Grant Cardone in his real estate days. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't we have a sales book for moms? Moms need to sell everything to their kids. And, I would just take everything that he'd learned. I would just sort of use it into this women's school training language. I learned so much. So every time we came together, there was always something novel and new, because we were constantly learning and growing. And I think that changes relationship in a very beautiful way, because when you're growing together, you're never the same person. You're expanding and growing towards your higher and best self. But then I think when you're dreaming together, and that's the word together, then you're growing towards each other together. Your dreams are not apart from each other, even though they could be different. But when you're aware of each other's dreams, and you're trying to figure out how to help each other pursue each other's dream, like that creates unity. When I did this, I didn't, Ryan and I was in real estate, and I would train women, but there was not an intersection, but we spoke about our dreams. And eventually an intersection came where Ryan eventually said, you know what, I think my time in real estate is up. I want to do something that makes me feel alive. And, he said, I'm going to start coaching. And then from coaching, he's like, wait a minute, I'll just hop on as a CEO of your business. And it was just this thing that we didn't even expect, but we knew it would be so great to work together. So the dream doesn't get fully revealed all at once, but we just kept stepping into it. And so I think that's, um, we're growing together, we're dreaming together. But then I think where it really comes together is that piece of life by design. And when you're growing together, you're dreaming together, and you're designing a life together, I think it creates a massive amount of unity. Whether your dreams are to work together or not, you're aware of each other's dreams, but that your life of wholeness is very much integrated. It could have different things. Ryan's health journey and movement and workout and spiritual life and friendship are different, but really the goal is the same. It's that peace and joy and, and abundance and optimal energy. There's a unity that we all share in our human heart that longs for the fulfilling life that is fully alive, that is life that is whole. And so even though perhaps it's going to look different, the fact that, we're really learning to design every part of our life brings so much unity, I think, in our marriage. And so for all of you out there just listening, and if you have ever thought about building a business, as a couple, the question I would pose is that how are you designing every part of your arena so that it could sustain your desire to pursue each of your dreams together? And I think it's a great thing to do, sort of even a dream session as couples, to look at, okay, what do I want in every part of my life, and to kind of bring that all together and have a great, rich, perhaps even struggling conversation together. But it's necessary, because the alternative is to live by default or never create unity in the things that you want. And is there a lot of compromise, a lot of hashing out? Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. And I had to do many of those. Other tears? Yes. But the idea is that you're constantly stepping forward, you're constantly showing up, you're constantly wrestling with hard conversation, and eventually there will be harmony. And I think if there's enough humility in the couple to say, well, let me hear what your thoughts are and why, and vice versa, I think it's only a matter of time that you're able to really design a life that is meaningful and rich and that inspires each other. And I think marriage ought to be beautiful. I don't think that there's enough role models of marriage being thriving after 10, 20, 30, 40 years of marriage, I think we need to see it. It needs to be seen. It needs to be heard. It needs to be experienced, because that's the reason why I never believed that that I never, first of all, I never believed that you could be happily married for forever, for years. And secondly, I never thought that you could ever be happily married doing a business together. And I was wrong. Not only could you be happily married, it actually was my marriage that helped me pursue my call and who I was created to be, which is to build this women's school. So I'm just grateful, I think, for the constant need to grow and skill up. And that has been the gift that I feel like keeps on giving in our marriage. If you're interested in anything in the women's school, if you're interested in growing with practical skills, sign up for a Women's School Masterclass and share this podcast to any woman out there who really is intentional about growing her practical skills to design a beautiful and meaningful life. Because I think that is what's missing, is that practical life. And that's what we teach here in the Women's School.